This episode is brought to you by Upsonder, the easiest way to monetize your drone. With the industry's only $1 million protection coverage free to its members, Upsonder is the top choice among certified drone pilots to get up and stay up. To get started, create your free listing today at upsonder.com. Welcome to CommercialDrones.fm, the podcast that explores the commercial drone industry, the people who power it, and the concepts that drive it. I'm your host, Ian Smith. Hey everybody, today I'm sitting here on the weekend at DroneDeploy HQ with one Mr. Mike Winn, who's the CEO and co-founder of DroneDeploy, which is a data software mapping company that I actually work at, full disclosure. But I thought it'd be a really cool opportunity to bring him on and chat about the drone industry and see how it's shaping up. So how's it going, Mike? Welcome to the show.
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So thanks for meeting here on the weekend. And I guess we can kick it off with a big announcement that was recently made about DroneDeploy. So $20 million Series B. So what's that money going to be used for? What does a drone company need $20 million for?
Sure. We're really excited to raise the money from some great investors. It's one of those things as a startup, you're growing really fast, you're hiring quickly, you're building the company really quickly. And you need capital to do that. We've been really lucky to not just get just the capital, but also the people behind the money that have really been able to help us build this business, people that have been involved in building big companies before us. $20 million, it sounds like a lot of money, but when you're building a company as quickly as we are, it's we put to work very quickly. We've got to build our company in every direction. We've got to expand our product. We've got to make that better, more reliable. We are building more and more features for our enterprise users. We're expanding our sales and marketing teams. More and more people are looking to use drones across multiple industries, and we are trying to reach them. And of course, we are building our business on the engineering side too, to make sure that we can keep building features to maintain the velocity that we've had so far and make sure that we can solve even more problems with drones.
Nice. Sounds like a logical plan there. So going back, I don't know how many years, maybe many years. How long have you been in the drone industry yourself, and what did you do before? Like, how did you get to where you're at today?
Yeah, wow. I've been flying drones for a long time, about 8 years now. Been flying RC helicopters. They weren't called drones back then. Always wanting to start a drone business. In fact, this is the third drone business myself and John and Nick, my co-founders, have actually explored over the time. But the first one that we actually gave up our jobs and our PhDs to commit to full time. So we've been flying. I actually bought John and Nick a helicopter each. They were both studying for their PhDs. I had more money than they did. So I bought them helicopters and said, you're right, one day we're going to build a business on this. And about 3 years ago we did, and that's when we officially launched DroneDeploy. We came across to the United States. We got into an incubator called AngelPad. And we've been growing ever since.
What kind of RC helicopters did you buy them? Were they like gas-powered ones or like electric?
Yeah, I came in at just at the point in time electric became viable.
Okay.
When like all the dirt and the grease of gas-powered, you didn't need to do all those things. You could get a battery. It would fly for 6 minutes. But these were 6 minutes.
Nice.
That was good back then.
Oh, yeah.
I would try and mod my helicopter with new blades to get to 7 minutes. It was a fun time. I spent as much time building and repairing my helicopters as I did flying, but it was what really sparked my interest in drones.
Nice. Some people tell you they can get a hell of a lot done in just 6 minutes.
That's true.
Cool. So we previously had Nick on the show, your co-founder. So I guess, well, how did you meet Nick? So some of the listeners may have listened to that episode. And I don't know, I think it'd just be kind of cool to have like a connect the dots thing. Like, where did you guys kind of get together? I mean, some people listening might be starting a drone company looking for a co-founder maybe, but your situation might be different.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've known Nick for a long time now, maybe 11 years. I went to college with Nick. He actually knew the third co-founder, Jono, from school. So they've known each other for 15 years. Too long. Yeah, we're really lucky to have been able to start the company with people you really know and trust, that you've worked with before. We've done lots of projects before. This is not the first startup we've tried to build. Even since we were at college together, we did lots of things. I remember we worked on what was called the Netflix Prize about 10, 12 years ago.
Netflix Prize?
Yeah, actually it was about 8 years ago. Netflix ran a competition to see if you could improve their ranking system, their rating system, to predict what people would like to watch.
Huh.
It was a big data problem. And Nick, all three of us, we did math together. I did economics. John and Nick did computer science. Put our brains together to win an entry in there. Clearly, we didn't win, but it was a fun first project to
maybe it's
do
good.
Maybe
together. It's good that you didn't win that one. You would have been finding yourselves maybe doing something else. That's awesome. So in the time we kind of so you started with I guess gas powered and battery powered helicopters. Since DroneDeploy, since 2013, early 2013, when you guys started this, how has drone technology progressed since then?
Wow. It's crazy thinking about where we're coming from is what people might call like more the consumer drone angle. The idea that you could buy a drone for about $1,000, put that to work. We've been working on that since we started. So it's 3.5 years. Back then, we had to build every single drone that we flew. And they weren't very good. They flew for 8 minutes. They were not very safe in the air.
Were these like fixed wing ones mostly?
We did a bit of both. We've got fixed wing. We've got one of the original fixed wing drones in the office here. In fact, the first DroneDeploy drone is hanging up above the couches. I don't think every DroneDeploy employee knows that, actually.
Describe it. What does it look like?
That's the Calypso. It's a glider. It's a powered glider that we threw in. We were flying with autopilot. We started very much there at the open source community. That was the easiest drones we could actually program. I think they were the only drones we could program at the time. And yeah, we used to send them off and build software against them.
Was the aspiration always to kind of be a B2B company for DroneDeploy, or did you guys just kind of throw it out there, or was that the strategy from the start?
Yeah, it was. I think originally, back in the day, I mean, a lot of the DroneDeploy original business was kind of conceived in a hot tub over a beer. And at that point in time was 3.5 years ago, drones were just starting to become a thing that a niche community was really kind of taking seriously. And we thought, wow, drones eventually, they're predominantly going to be commercial drones. There are going to be drones people use for fun, but there's just going to be a lot more of them being used by enterprises. So if we want to build a business here, we should be building for the biggest market, and we should be building in a space that we have the greatest strengths. We had identified that the biggest problem with commercial drones were they're just too hard to use by ordinary people. You needed to be an expert. And it was too hard to get the data off them and to a place where the data could be used. Those were both software problems. We were software guys.
That's exactly... you're basically describing, when I kind of made the move over here to DroneDeploy, when I saw what you guys were doing, it was just very cool, very unique at the time, and I think it's been inspiring to a lot of other people. So you've processed plenty of maps, your fair share. I know you're not done yet, but so far it's been quite a few maps, drone maps. What's one of the coolest case studies that you've seen lately?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most interesting aspects of our company. Is we just get so much data thrown at us from all over the world. The number we announced about a month or so ago was 6 million acres. We're far beyond that, about 130 countries. Really, if there's work to be done in a country, people are using a drone and using DroneDeploy. And they're collecting data about just about everything. All the usual suspects of agriculture, construction, mining, whatever. But also unusual ones, archaeology and environmental research on coral reefs and all sorts of weird things. I think that's one of the interesting things for us is like every week we see a new interesting use case of a drone we'd never before thought of. I mean, just a little while ago we saw a really cool new one is we've talked a lot about disaster response with drones, but even disaster response commercially is important. And what we saw a guy doing a really cool thing. He had a tornado rip through his farm. Wow. And deposit all sorts of trash all over it. There were fences and logs and tons of things.
Yeah.
And you've got a couple of 100 acres of corn. How the hell do you know where it is? How do you make sure that you don't actually drive over that with your combine harvester in a couple months' time?
The debris.
Yeah.
Okay, because that could tear up the combine, and oof, that would not be good.
And originally the guy was like, hey, look, what we do is in these times, just walk around, try and find it. And then he remembers, hey, I've got a drone. And this is the natural progression. People are like, hey, I'll just fly it around, catch some video. He got some video. He saw a bit about the biggest areas. And he was like, hey, I've got DroneDeploy. Let me make a map of this. Let me actually go out there and make a map. I can demarcate every single piece of trash where I can see it and just go one by one, collect it. And he saved pretty much tens or hundreds of hours doing that.
Wow. That's awesome. Nice. Yeah, it's good to see. I think there's also some implications for that too. If the crops were damaged or whatever, and it was during or pre-harvest, then they could do some insurance claim stuff with some other. Well, actually, Cassidy Rankin with Skymatics doing the sky claim stuff, automatically identifying areas that were damaged during hail or weather events on crops, and then being able to kind of make previous guest, by the way, Cassidy, on another episode where we talked about that. So that's cool. So drones can be used in all kinds of cool ways, and that's a very unique one with finding debris from a tornado.
I just like to make a call out. You can read all about those things on our blog. There's a blog post about that. They also talk about the insurance implications, and there's hundreds of other stories across every industry of just interesting thing people are doing with drones.
I think blog.dronedeploy.com. Cool. So if you're interested, you can go check that out and see. There's definitely something that might pertain to you, or just some stuff to get the old creative juices flowing on thinking on how you want to use drones in your business. Awesome. So what's in your mind, I guess, in general, what is one of the most impressive things happening in the drone industry right now to Mike Winn?
We're lucky that we're on this kind of rising tide. All the time, there are really interesting things happening. Of course, there's interesting things happening in our company and outside. I think one thing that's really impressed me in the last couple of weeks is just the DJI Mavic launch. I was watching a review, and they're just weighing the P4 versus the Mavic, and I think the Mavic is like 2.5 times lighter, about a kilogram. And it has all the capabilities that the P4 has. It has the sense and avoid. It has a great camera. It can fly for, actually, it seems like a little bit longer than the P4. It's foldable. You can carry it in your pocket if you really want to.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing how the drones keep on miniaturizing. They're getting cheaper and better every single cycle. And that cycle is not necessarily even every year. It's every 6 months.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's been quite a wild ride from whenever I first started at DroneDeploy. It was Phantom 2 Vision Plus, P3 was just announced, and from there it's just been like this rocket ship of exponentially advancing technological feats that DJI has pretty much been leading the pack on. So yeah, that's cool. The hardware being augmented by the software, I agree. Like the forward-facing collision avoidance stuff is cool. There's also, underneath the drone, but then making that 360 degrees, of course, is like the next step, so that the drone always knows what's around it. So I'm sure we're going to be seeing that pretty soon. So what do you think? There was also another big launch, though. The GoPro Karma was announced. And so by the time this airs, actually, I think both the Mavic and the Karma will be in people's hands. And so what do you think? I mean, from like a photogrammetry perspective, obviously, like the GoPro Karma still uses a GoPro. Apparently it has a rectilinear mode, so you can remove some of the fisheye, but also like the DJI Mavic. I mean, both viable photogrammetry drones, or what do you think?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's great to see GoPro come into the space. And I think like what we're going to see is that the Mavic is going to do a little bit better than most drone enthusiasts think. GoPro just has this massive brand recognition. It's a pretty decent looking drone. It's quite cool with all the modularity. You can actually get a camera with it. You get an Osmo effectively as well.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called.
But yeah, so that it has that adaptability and versatility, which is pretty cool. And of course, GoPro has this massive retail presence. Like you go to stores and you see GoPros more so than even any other camera brand these days. But that said, that's more for the GoPros definitely orienting this device to consumers. For photogrammetry, yeah, I don't think we're going to see it as much. I'm not actually sure how we're going to georeference those images. Can we? Maybe they're going to have logs. Maybe there is a way that they can do that. I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't seem like for the community that are already doing the more sophisticated things, like they're already using drones to do mapping and things like that. I think they're going to look at what exists from the P4 to the Mavic, and they're probably going to find generally those the devices that they're going to use.
Agree. Yeah. I think. Well, I guess time will tell. Once we get some people trying to send over some karma data, then we'll have to take a look at it. Enterprise companies, what's going on with them? I mean, how have you seen just in the past year, maybe, the response from enterprise companies to using commercial drones and like integrating them into their operations?
Yeah, I think the drone space is a quite an interesting space from like enterprise adoption. I think it's one of those technologies that enterprise is actually really hungry for, more so than other types of technology. And I think it's primarily because drones are flying robots and they just can do something that they could never do before. Now they can get a bird's eye view of what's happening. So pretty much every company that is dealing in the physical world is interested in using drones, and they're thinking about how do we deploy these things. With the Section 333 process that really limited the number of enterprises that would really go through it. They need to get a pilot. It was quite hard to do that. You need 6 months of legal work. But now with Part 107, we're seeing a lot of enterprises jump in, and they're figuring out not just how to get their first drone in use, but actually how do they scale that to 10, 100 drones across an operation. And those are a lot of the problems we're facing right now at DroneDeploy. How do we build a tool that works enterprise-wide across 100 people? And you're going to see a lot of features coming out from us right now, but also across in Q4 to deal with exactly those kind of problems, to equip enterprises to be able to deal with drones at scale, to be able to make sure that any data they collect is usable across the company. There's the right kind of permissions, and of course that we for DroneDeploy to be integrated with compliance partners to enable any enterprise to make sure that they're doing the right things and they have the right processes in place to stay within the law.
Yeah, I agree. So looking back for me, just personally, a year ago, I mean, there was a lot of like enterprise interest. There still was, but it was always like kind of preceded by, well, we're thinking about a 333. It was always just kind of like kicking the tires, like seeing, okay, how useful could this be? Can you guys do this? Is it possible that I can do this? And well, what do I need to, make this happen? And so with 107 coming out, it's just been like, okay, now we're rolling, and not even just with one drone. It's like, yeah, we're buying like 5 and we're getting people set up, and we need to start training and getting processes in place and everything. So,
and I think what we're going to see is that Mavic's going to help us further. Now there's a drone that's even smaller. It's lighter, so it poses less risk. It's easier to carry around and manage. You don't need to actually even have its own bag.
Risk, yeah.
I think the comment is that the best camera is the camera in your pocket. It's going to be the best drone is the drone that's in your bag.
Best drone in your pocket. Okay. Drone service providers. So they kind of started this whole thing. I mean, the early adopters, I think they kind of just started out like they had their own drone for a hobbyist use, and then they realized, wow, I might be able to make some money on this. How do you see the relationship between a drone service provider and an enterprise company existing? Like I've got so my kind of perception on that is that there are you just mentioned it. There's an element of risk. And so sometimes these enterprise companies are so used to contracting out this work that they'll go find they'll vet and find like a very, very competent drone service provider, and then they'll bring them on to do it. But then there's also some enterprise companies that I think just want to do it themselves. So what have you seen as far as like the relationship, the dichotomy between a DSP, a drone service provider, and an enterprise?
I actually wrote a whole blog piece about this on Drone Life. Honestly, drone service providers are the mechanism through which most companies are deploying a drone first. So you want to use a drone in your business, and you want to see what you can get, how it works, what the quality of the data is, how useful and accurate the data is. people are hiring in drone service providers. They're saying, hey, let me just start by just bringing a guy in. Let's reduce all the risks. Now I don't need to learn anything. We think that's kind of the path that most companies take, is get a drone service provider in. We have a huge number of drone service providers on our platform, people that are going out doing these jobs, and they're a really important part of the community. They're the guys really pushing the envelope, trying to do the biggest jobs, the most accuracy. They're really trying to understand lots of different verticals, and they are really kind of the evangelists for drones across the country, across the world.
Totally agree. Yeah, huge shout out to I know Dale Parrish won't mind a little mention. I've never mentioned him yet, but Dale is out in Oklahoma, and he's just been crushing it from a drone service provider perspective. I think he originally got a drone to like do some aerial photo stuff, and then he started identifying problems when he was talking to some of his friends and colleagues, and seeing that there was like problems that needed to be solved on these like oil storage tank areas. And so then anyways, we did some stories on him on Dale, but he's just been, he embodies exactly what you're saying. He's like trying to understand these different verticals, and he's going out there finding the hardware and software that makes it possible to help these companies solve those problems. So looking back a bit more in DroneDeploy lore, back in the annals of history here, you guys used to make something called the Copilot. Tell me the history of the Copilot. This is a really cool story. So we still do get questions about the Copilot, like how can I buy one? Unfortunately, you can't. We had to go ahead and discontinue it. But tell us about, how did this come about? Like what? This is it's really cool. What is it? What's a Copilot?
What's the Copilot? When we started DroneDeploy, there was actually no way to programmatically interface with a drone. And at the time, if you did want to kind of control one at all, you needed laptops and like crazy radio systems. They didn't actually have a very good range. There was no way to actually control the camera on the drone. So you couldn't actually say, take a photo right now. You had to use these like crazy hacks on the cameras. You couldn't know if the imagery was blurry or not taking it at all. So we thought, well, look, given there is no hardware that's yet ready for the software that we're trying to build, we're going to just kind of hack together some hardware to enable us to do the things we need to do. And one of our early employees, he had some hardware engineering background, enough to get us to do what we need to do. And so we built a little Copilot. It was a little computer that you would put inside your drone that would connect to the internet. We put a little LTE modem in there and connect to a camera. And that enabled us to really create what we would have called the first smart drones. It had a full-on processor in there. It was connected to the internet. Now the drone was part of the Internet of Things. And it was a really simple device. It was actually just pretty much a Raspberry Pi with a little connection board and this LTE modem. And we wrote a bunch of software on there to enable us to control a drone from anywhere in the world. Whenever we had support questions, we could actually connect directly to the drone. It could be in Kansas, sitting waiting to take off, and we could actually see exactly what was going on. There could be a camera issue. We could diagnose it and fix it from our office in San Francisco. We could watch flights happening in Germany. We even launched a flight from San Francisco with talking to somebody in Germany at the time.
That was me.
That was it.
That was awesome, actually. I think that was a crowd-pleasing moment when they saw the drone and the map coming through the internet in real time in Germany from Kansas.
And that's created a real interesting opportunity. We could actually process the data in real time. We would actually get all the images off the drone in real time and spin up a machine to actually process that data to quickly deliver back a kind of a preview map of the space the drone was flying over. It'll just be like one or two flight lines behind, and then a farmer could actually see in real time what was going on in his field and be able to walk out to the spot that needed attention without needing to go home, wait for the data to be processed. So really amazing capabilities. We were the first guys, I think, to really use LTE in drones. This is late 2013, early 2014.
Make it commercially available.
We made it commercially available. Hundreds of people were using it. It was really exciting. But obviously we weren't a hardware company. We didn't want to build hardware. And what we saw was the industry was finally enabling us to write software directly against a drone with SDKs. And so at that point in time, look, the Copilot business is always going to be just a small fraction of the drones out there. Let's make sure the software we're building is available to anyone.
Nice. And so why don't we see what in your mind we still don't see that, like DJI, 3D robotics, GoPro, Parrot. Nobody is really putting LTE modems in drones. Although I will say, Delaire Tech had and has 3G and 4G modems in their drones, which is really cool. But those are pretty niche, very very high cost platforms for very specific purposes. I know there's FCC regulations, and deploying this at scale and putting a modem in a drone is going to be very difficult. But do you have any? When will we see more 4G capability in these drones we can buy right off the shelf?
We're looking forward to that. I mean, it's just a matter of time, right? I mean, Verizon just launched their new program. It's funny, we were using Verizon back then. Verizon was charging us less. It was $13 a gig. I think now they want $20.
Ooh. Nice.
I mean, this stuff has already been tried and tested. It does work. It is amazing what you can do. It's not to say that you should only rely on LTE. I think the important thing in any aircraft is redundancy. You should have a link to the ground and a link to the internet. Drones, there are a lot of manufacturers already thinking about this. You can imagine Intel and Qualcomm, they're building their drone boards. They have those abilities because that's what they're doing. And when we have every drone connected to the Internet of Things, we'll be able to do truly amazing things. I mean, it's pretty much a requirement for beyond line of sight, for at least in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. Being able to control it from anywhere, getting diagnostic information. I mean, sending that data in real time is just really cool and a very flexible capability to have.
We've got probably thousands, maybe tens of thousands of flight hours on LTE, and it works. There are scenarios where it doesn't work as well as we would like, but it does work. It works like the 99th percentile.
Yeah.
And so it's not going to be long until we see a lot of drones have this capability, and it's going to really drive them to be able to do amazing new things.
So more third world countries, not necessarily third world, but countries with less infrastructure, are probably going to start being blanketed more in these high-speed internet from the high altitude drones or whatnot from Facebook and Google. I mean, they're really going after those huge markets where there's no like 3G or 4G LTE infrastructure built yet. But yeah, I think as that technology progresses, there's going to be less and less reason. I mean, we're talking about a future where it's like, oh, you use a directional antenna. Like, why are you doing that? Why aren't you using 4G or 5G or whatever it's going to be called? That's going to be exciting. Totally. In speaking of the future, what kind of plans does DroneDeploy have in store for the future of drone software? What's like, if you could see ahead, like a year or two from now, I mean, what do you see feature set? Not necessarily specific features, but just where do you see what DroneDeploy as like a cloud-based drone software company providing for customers?
Drone technology is still relatively new and relatively young. So there's a lot of steps we've still got to take in building the software. We focus at DroneDeploy just on kind of making maps, coverage areas, building 3D models, those kind of data sets. You can imagine that those data sets will expand. We're already working on thermal and multispectral. You're going to see more development of features. Like right now, we have a great platform that enables anyone to get this bird's eye view that's measurable, that's metric, that's repeatable, very, very simply. But you can see we're already building more and more features that go a layer deeper to enable you to not just get a map of your field, but actually to count the individual crops that you've planted, or to be able to see individual roof damage. We're working with lots of third parties. And that's something you're going to see more and more from us, is this ecosystem of people that are working on more and more specific tasks in the drone space, specific niches, to solve really high-value problems.
Different industrial verticals. I remember a lot of people, let's see, I mean, even back in 2013, when I got into this industry, okay, cool, you give me an NDVI map, that's great. What do I do with it? And so now, like, we've already kind of seen that with like the kind of the shape file exports you can get, showing a gridded format across a field, what the relative health is, and then using those to develop a prescription map. So I agree. I can see that kind of being pumped up full of steroids and using more? I mean, do you see like machine learning and computer vision playing a part in any of this?
Oh, definitely. I think that's what's interesting about our company. We've got this huge data set. We've talked about 6 million acres. We think that's the world's largest centimeter resolution data set in the world for anyone. And what we're seeing with machine learning now, that's kind of the background of the three founders. John and Nick did their PhDs in machine learning. My background, I did 4 years of applied math. What we're seeing now is that it's not really the tools that really enable machine learning, a company to be best at machine learning. It's the data sets. Companies like Google and Microsoft, they're just giving away their tool sets for free. You just use them, they're open sourced. But what makes those tools powerful is feeding in huge amounts of high quality data.
Okay, Google, how far is the moon?
Exactly.
Now it knows my voice, and it's just getting voice data and photo data from that free unlimited Google photo storage.
And I think what's really amazing is that for all our customers is as we get more data into our systems will get better. It will get better at identifying trees and counting them, or identifying cars, or determining where there are weeds in a field. Just as we get more data in, we're going to get better at solving these problems.
These little steps towards that are just always super interesting to me and very satisfying when we see that, okay, we've taken this incremental step towards like a greater thing. And I think if you look back, 5 years from now, when we look back, we'll see all the little steps clearer and how much that played a role in eventually getting to this like such an automated state where problems are just auto-identified, and the interaction from humans is literally just, okay, we'll go fix that. But then the drones with the hands on them will eventually go fix that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the dream of every farmer that I've spoken to, is to be able to just need to do less things, that they want to be able to operate their farm remotely. And so we're working with a bunch of people that are working on problems that integrate, or solutions that integrate into DroneDeploy to solve these kind of problems. And we're going to kind of just keep on climbing the stairs, making the tools more and more sophisticated, one step at a time. We can't necessarily jump to the end state immediately. The tools don't exist. The data doesn't exist. A lot of people that talk about those things, well, they're talking about things that are actually not going to work that well in the real world. But step by step, in the next 5 years, you're going to see a completely different capability from drones and data collection, just how much of a problem they're really going to be able to solve. They're really going to get to the end. You
guys just launched the first app market, the first kind of app store for commercial drones. What was the impetus behind that? Why did DroneDeploy decide to launch that? I think it was on November 4th, so just a few weeks ago. But yeah, tell us a little bit about why that was launched and what your thought process behind that is.
Yeah, we're really excited about the app marketplace. You can imagine that when we started the company, the vision was pretty simple. We needed to make drones accessible and productive to anyone. And we've gone quite far down the line on the accessibility. Literally thousands of people are using our product, getting drones in the air, capturing data. That was difficult to actually foresee a couple of years ago. But on the productivity part, what we've got to is a stage where people can very predictably and reliably get aerial data from their drones. We build them 3D models and maps and things like that. But those 3D models and maps aren't actually the answer to that many business questions. They're just a part of the journey. With the App Store, we actually enable people to get to the end results they're looking for, complete their workflows, get the data they need, not just a map of their orchard, but how many trees are in their orchard, how many trees are dead versus alive, or at different stages of maturity. And they can get that data to where it needs to be, whether that's in John Deere or Box or whatever. And now any developer can build on top of DroneDeploy to solve real problems in their specific niche.
Nice. So as a user, as a commercial drone user, if you're on DroneDeploy, you can go ahead and select one of, how many apps are there on the app market?
I think we launched with about 17, 18, and now we're up to about 20 odd.
So as a user of DroneDeploy, or a commercial drone user, what kind of apps are available to me on the DroneDeploy app market today?
Yeah, so you can think about the apps in about three broad themes. The first is flight and compliance, then analysis, and lastly export. Starting in the flight and compliance, you can actually install a couple of tools like AirMap to make sure you're flying in the right spaces, far away from airports, or apps that can help you with your flight logs. Things like Drone Logbook or Flight, Kitty Hawk, Envy Drone, Skyward. These are all tools that you can actually take the flight logs from DroneDeploy and export them automatically into one of these tools to enable you to keep a track record of where you've been flying and operating. There's companies like Verifly, which enable you to capture the insurance. I talked about analytics, companies that do all sorts of crop analytics of counting trees or counting crops, giving you a sense of where your plant's under stress. And there's construction apps like Easy Roof is a pretty cool one. What you can do is you can actually take a 3D model from a drone, click a button, and from that 3D model, simplify it down to just kind of the architectural drawing of like kind of the line drawing. And then lastly, it's the couple of tools to actually get data to where you need it to be, whether it's been Box or John Deere, etc. And this is just the beginning of it. So I've just named a couple of our apps, but there are a ton more developers in action. I think about 100 of them have gotten in contact with us. And so you're going to see a lot more tools coming in the near future.
Nice, yeah. And one that I think is kind of cool is White Cloud. It's like a 3D printing app. You can get your digital drone 3D model printed physically in your hands in color, and they're like the largest 3D color printing outfit in the world. So that's pretty cool. And so what about development? Okay, cool. End users, there's all kinds of apps. There's going to be plenty more in the future. It sounds like it's a big initiative for DroneDeploy. What about as a developer? What's the process to develop an app like? Have you ever developed an app? I mean, what's going on that end?
Yeah, I was actually involved in a couple of apps and helping with the design. And I made a little weather app, which I haven't yet launched. It is really simple. The idea is that if you can make a website, a little bit of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can make an app. You just go to the developer.dronedeploy.com. You click join the developer program. We have a great little Hello World starter pack. We have a nice templating engine, so it's easy to actually create a design that actually fits with our interface and looks good. And really, you can build something. You actually have your Hello World done in 2 minutes if you're a developer, and you can get something pretty serious made in a day.
Nice. So I won't play extremely coy. So I've tried this myself, of course. I actually helped a little bit out on that weather app too, and it is seriously. I'm not a programmer or anything. It's super easy. You can get started like immediately and start building something, and it's actually pretty cool. The development environment, and you don't really need any special tools to get started. So just an idea, really. Awesome. So app market, really successful launch. It's moving forward. Where do you see this in, 12 months from now? I mean, this sounds like it's a big initiative for DroneDeploy. What are your aspirations for how big can this actually get? And where do you really want it to go? Just kind of in relation to the entire commercial drone industry and the end users themselves.
That's a really big question.
It's a long question, too. It's like 3 questions in one.
Talk about the vision here. So I think anyone that's been in the drone space, the commercial drone space for a while, has really started to see that there are just so many different ways to use a drone in each different vertical, whether it's ag or construction or insurance and inspection. There are sub-verticals within those. And in each sub-vertical, there's many different tools to be used. There are literally thousands of different ways and different outcomes you might be looking for with a drone. This app market enables every one of those to happen in one centralized place. So it took us a little while to get to this point where we could build the platform. First, we had to make our own app ourselves that a lot of people used and liked and came back to. Now we're kind of giving the opportunity to kind of the next generation of drone companies, saying, I know a lot about detecting cracks in asphalt or wind turbines, and I can actually, if given the right data and access to customers, I can build a business which solves this kind of niche but high value problem. So you can imagine the future of this for DroneDeploy is in the next 5 years, we're going to see real businesses being built just to build apps that solve problems on our app store.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, if you want to learn more about the App Store or the app market, rather, you can check it out on developer.dronedeploy.com if you're a developer, or you can just go to dronedeploy.com and right on the front page, there's a big kind of hero image that will tell you about it more if you're just a commercial end user yourself. So let's move on to some other topics. What's it like working at DroneDeploy?
It's funny, I'm a founder, of course, I think it's very nice. I should ask you that question.
It's nice.
No, we think that we've built a really exciting company. And if you look at some of the outside reviews of us, people would say the same. I mean, if you look at Glassdoor, we've got a 5 out of 5 rating. We're really proud of it. The people that work here are amazingly smart people. I'm always learning from them. We have built a really great community where everyone has lunch together. We do barbecues together. We spend a lot of time outside of work together, working in a really exciting space that's just growing like gangbusters. And we get to ride this wave together. We get to solve some really interesting problems, not just technically, but also in business. No one has ever built a business like this before in a space like this before. And that's really a lot of really exciting problems to solve and really great people to tap into. We've got some really great board members that spend a lot of time with us trying to help us understand. It's like, hey, how is this industry going to evolve? What is the best strategic position to be in? And I think the combination of all those things gets to be in a position where, our employees really love working for us. We do have this 5 out of 5 ranking on Glassdoor, and our job and my job as CEO is to make sure that continues, that we can grow and scale this business and without losing what makes it special.
Shout out to one of those board members, Kevin Spain. He was on the Commercial Drones FM podcast, one of the earliest episodes, actually. It's a good one if you want to learn a little bit more about that. So, Mike, is DroneDeploy hiring?
Is it hiring? Yeah, definitely. We're hiring for almost every single kind of field. We're growing really fast. We need really smart, talented people with experience to come join our company and help us grow the capabilities of drones together.
Just a quick little tidbit. If you guys are interested in trying to apply for DroneDeploy, one thing that I found is that passion speaks volumes. So if you got the passion, you can come bring it.
Come bring it and go to come to DroneDeploy.com and click on the careers page.
Do it up. Cool. So last question, Mike. Any advice for someone who is just starting out or wants to be part of the commercial drone industry?
Sure. This is an industry growing really fast. So there's a lot of opportunities in a lot of different spaces. I think the starting point is to think about, what are you good at? What's your competitive advantage? And that can really dictate what you should be doing. We were lucky that we had a strength in software, and that's what we did. We didn't try and build drones or actually go do operations. We probably wouldn't be that good at that. So figure out what your competitive advantages and then go really hard and go after that and go out there and find some real customers and deliver your services. I think I was speaking to a drone service provider the other day that went out there, and he just went to construction sites and started offering his services for free. And he said, hey, I want to help you guys understand your construction site. I will work for free for you. And they said, sure, why not? And then they saw the data he created and they hired him.
Hustle.
But even if they didn't hire him, it would have been an amazing learning experience. I think that's a big thing for any entrepreneur, is just to go out there, put your foot out there, be kind of aggressive in kind of get something done and get it done, get it out there to customers and test it. Even if you're giving it away, the core thing is that you're going to learn.
A lot of people ask too, like, well, what should I charge? And honestly, these days, I don't really know. Like, you don't want to charge too little. You don't want to charge too much, obviously, because then you're scared that you might lose the job and, be outbid by someone else. But really, I think talking to your customer and then figuring out, okay, this is what they're paying. Well, I'll give it to you for less and it'll be, X times better. So doing that research, hustling, great advice. I can definitely relate to that. So
I was just going to add to that. One thing that's interesting about this industry is if you think about the opportunities there were 3 years ago when we started this company, or 5 years ago, if you are some of our kind of predecessors, other startups in this space, they kind of had to solve the problems that they went on to solve. They first had to build drones because there was the problem at hand on the day. Now there are different problem sets and there's different opportunities. So I'd say like the opportunities to build the kinds of software we build, there are fewer opportunities like that now, but there's more opportunities in other spaces. Like now it is possible to go and get a drone to fly, collect data for you, and to process the data. There are going to be lots of startups that actually work on top of platforms like ours, where they say, hey, look, let's assume that DroneDeploy works, and they collect data, and they have lots of customers to do that. What can we do with that data, with that assumption? And so we've seen lots of companies already going building on top of us, saying, hey, look, I understand solar, I understand how to build software, and so I'm going to start doing shade analysis with drone data. And how do I get that out? How do I find customers to do that? And they're looking at platforms like ours to enable them to distribute their software.
Awesome, guys. So thanks so much for listening, everyone. Just another close off the disclaimer. I do work at DroneDeploy full-time. I do enjoy it. I would be a fool for hosting this podcast, which is my own personal side project, not DroneDeploy related, if I did not ask Mike, Nick, and Kevin Spain to be guests on the show, because they are very, very brilliant, smart people who have a ton of knowledge to share. So it's been a pleasure having you, Mike. Thank you so much for being on the show. You can follow Mike on Twitter at Mike Winn. That's Mike, W-I-N-N, 2 N's. And if you want to follow DroneDeploy, check him out at DroneDeploy. And if you're interested in working at DroneDeploy, again, you can check out the careers page by going to dronedeploy.com and scrolling down. So if you want to follow the podcast, I'd love to have you as well. We're at Drones Podcast on Twitter, facebook.com/Drones Podcast. Follow me on my personal Twitter at SkyCapture. Subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, rate it 1 star. If you rate it 1 star, give me a reason why, but do something. Talk to me. Let me know how you like it. So thanks so much for listening. Any final thoughts, Mike, before we go ahead and cut off the mics?
Well, thanks for having me, Ian. It was fun. And I've got to do the quick shameless plug. Go ahead, use DroneDeploy. It's free. You can download it on the App Store or go to our website, dronedeploy.com.
Boom. All right. Thanks, Mike. It's been a pleasure again, and maybe we'll do another episode in the future. Catch you on the flip side.
Awesome. Thanks.
Cheers.